This video serves absolutely zero purpose. You could consider it kind of like a filler episode in an anime that could be really cool. It could have some things that you're like, oh wow, that's really nice. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really amount to a whole lot. And that's because the purpose of this is just to kind of get back in the swing of making videos again. It's been a long time since the last upload, and admittedly, there's been a lot of life in between now and then. And so there's a lot of rust that might be had there. And so this is just an opportunity to have a conversation, just to air my thoughts and to just see what's going on. And so if you're looking for any sort of real tangible value, this is probably not it. But if you saw the title and you're like, oh, okay, well, let's see where this goes. I mean, I cannot promise you anything of value, but let's do this. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to just stick around. Who knows? But anyway, so we're talking about gaming today, right? And one of the things that I just wanted to kind of just put out to the air was thoughts on where we've been in the past, where we are right now, and where we're going, and just sort of having a conversation about that. I remember growing up and begging my mom for a copy of Pokemon Emeralds for the Game Boy, and it was my second copy of Pokemon Emerald because I was incredibly prone to losing games as a child. It was really bad. And picking it up for the second time, playing through it all, and then being able to share all the stories of my adventures with my friends and just creating a bond around our shared experiences. Life for me otherwise wasn't all that interesting, and so these games provided an outlet for me to connect with other people too. I wasn't going out doing all these cool programs or activities or sports, and so this gave me an avenue to where I could just sort of have something to talk about, have something to express my interest in with somebody else, and hopefully build a friendship off of that. And I think the thing that sort of sticks out to me was that gaming back in the day was an experience that was isolated yet celebrated amongst its community, right? And when I say that, I mean that you had these games that were very much so these isolated moments. Games had a shelf life. They weren't designed around these longevities of battle passes, of content drops that keep going in order to keep a player's attention. They were something that was, you would enjoy it for as long as you could. And once you have exhausted all of it, that didn't necessarily mean you couldn't keep enjoying it, but that the game had given you everything it was to offer. And yet, those games continued to be celebrated for, some games even to this day, right? I was just watching a speed run of somebody playing Ocarina of Time the other day, and I'm like, wow, how can a game be so well celebrated that even in the year 2025, so long after this game has been released, so long after everything has been quote-unquote figured out, that people are still flocking and joining in and actually taking entertainment around this game still. And obviously, you can say, well, there's some people are still figuring out games. There's new things that come out all the time. There are still many more examples of games that have been completely well past their shelf life, and yet the community behind those games and when they were made still exists today. And that's pretty freaking cool, because nowadays you kind of don't get that all that much. And that's not to necessarily say that it's a bad thing. I think that now, when you look at gaming in its current state, games have evolved from something that developers have kind of designed to be a more isolated moment to trying to cultivate the games that they create to be ones that people can enjoy for longer durations. And I'm not going to say whether or not that's fully a good thing or a bad thing, because honestly, I think the answer kind of lies somewhere in the middle. You have games like Minecraft that when they come out are created in such a way to where there's infinite replayability. There's infinite ideas, infinite possibilities. It's Minecraft. I don't have to tell you the grand scale of everything that you can do in Minecraft. It's literally Minecraft. Multiplayer games also achieve this as well, where the games are literally designed with the idea of longevity in mind, where they're constantly not only planning, but telling us the ideas that they're going to make happen for the games that we're playing. And that's something that's become incredibly normal in this modern space. And again, I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I think a good part of the beauty that can be had through going in this direction is that you have this evolution of what it means to celebrate a game. Before, it's this sort of nostalgic celebration that there's this game that's so old, but we still love it, even though the developers have long since cared about it, and a lot of the care that happens nowadays is from the community that we have now. Instead, you have a game that could still be relatively old, but it's through the developers' care and the joining of the community together that this game continues to thrive. And the community that rallies behind it could still be new people, but also oftentimes you can find individuals who've been enjoying these games for multiple upon multiple years. There's games like World of Warcraft, there's games like Final Fantasy XIV, there's games like Minecraft, there's games like Overwatch. These are just a few of the many games out there that have a community and a developer base that has been constantly with this game for who knows how long at that point. And with the rise of social media, those communities have grown so large through things like Discord, through things like Reddit, and it's exploded into a new way to create a community. I could literally go online right now and look up Discord communities for X game, and I would find several Discords that I could probably join at this moment that I could get myself plugged into, talking about my favorite game and enjoying them with other people who enjoy that game. That was not a possibility 20 years ago. And it's really cool to witness now because these games have things that we enjoy. They're things that we resonate with, whether it's storytelling style, whether it's art style, whether it's direction, audio design. There are so many things that people can rally behind for a game. And now we have the capacity like never before to celebrate those things on a scale unprecedented. Now, at the same time, there have been some drawbacks to that. I'm not going to be ignorant and say that it's all been roses and daisies, because obviously there have been many faults with the direction that some games tend to take in the modern day, sacrificing its on-launch quality for the better purpose of creating a product that can continue. I'm sure you don't have to go far to think of a game that might fit that criteria, in which there's something that's withheld at launch that they eventually push out later on that could have been dropped day one. And it's unfortunate that that happens, and I wish that it didn't, and I wish that it wasn't as prevalent. It is a reality that we have to accept. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of times where it kind of looks like that's where things are going to be going for potentially a while. And so where are we going? I feel like there's a lot of speculation involved with this, right? Because obviously I'm not a mind reader. I can't tell trends. I can't decipher how games are going to be, if something is going to surpass the games as a service model and we're going to enter into a new era of ways to leech off of the consumer. I do think generally that the capacity for people to engage with communities in their respective games that they enjoy will only continue to grow, though. That for certain I can probably assume, just because that's kind of the nature of what technology does, is it helps us to grow closer together while still being miles and miles apart. And so that, I believe, is still going to grow at a pretty large level. It's interesting when thinking about games, though, because oftentimes you can sort of see things circle back around to what they were in the past and shake things up dramatically. Again, talking about the whole era of games as a live service, and then you go back just a year ago and you find the best game of the year is Baldur's Gate 3, a game which seemingly came out, dropped maybe 1 or 2 updates, and has since vanished. It's done. The community still keeps it up, but that's basically it. Or this year's Game of the Year winner, Astrobot, which is a crazy Game of the Year winner, but still a lovely platformer which doesn't try to be more than what it is, a game that just celebrates games. Could it be that people are tired of these long games as a service type deals where everything is kind of battle passed out to just exist for millennia without actually caring about the quality? Well, I don't know, because sometimes there are a lot of games that still do that and people still shirk out a lot of money for them, and you know who you are if you do that, and you know what games you're doing that for. Again, you could probably Google that and the games would pop up pretty quickly and you're like, oh yeah, that tracks. So while I won't say that the gaming industry as a large is crying out for this, because very clearly there are still games that are profiting and are very popular because of it, I do think that in a subset of a community of people, that there are people who are beginning to want more complete experiences, to want experiences that aren't gated behind a paywall. And at the same time, there are people who are just okay with casual games that they can play with their friends and shell out like, and honestly, if that's what you want, then, you know, vote with your wallet, do that. If that game that you love is so cool, then who am I to say that you can't spend money on the game that you like? You know, that's like the other part of this coin, is that those games, sometimes people love those games, and so they just be wanting those games. But don't be surprised if games like that keep happening if that's what people want. But I want to know what you think. Let me know firstly, what is the game that you've sort of stuck with the longest? The game that you've kind of developed a community behind it, and I'm interested to know why. Not only why did you like that game, but what about when you started to find a community around that game? What kept you there? What were the things that you celebrated behind it? And what are some things that you sort of look for nowadays when you're looking at a game that you enjoy? Anyways, that's enough of me yapping. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. Adios. See ya.